Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cryptic Conversations. I'm your host, Tunes from the Crypt, and we have another very special episode in store today. Today's guest is a woman named Taneisha. Taneisha is a spiritual entrepreneur, and her mission is to empower individuals through spiritual and cultural connections. Taneisha runs the Guided Source Metaphysics Shop, as well as the Guided Source Awakening Facebook group. She has undergone a powerful and transformative spiritual awakening with an amazing story, navigating her own trials and tribulations, and I believe she has a powerful story to share with you with some fascinating wisdom and insights that I think many of you will be able to relate to. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, so for the listeners, just to let you know, we're kind of having some technical difficulties for a second there. She's never had that happen, and I've never had it happen. So we'll see how this goes moving forward. So yeah, to kick things off, I wanted to talk to the listeners about kind of how we connected. I thought it was very interesting. I'm making a lot of new connections lately with different spiritual people and different spiritual Facebook groups, and I think you added me, and then immediately we started to connect. And I just want to send you thank you and tell you thank you. You've been so supportive of me, of my music and the podcast and everything. And I think it's funny how strangers, can sometimes support you more than, the people in your own life. You know what I mean? So I want to thank you for that. And so, like I said, I think she has an amazing story to share. So let's dive right into it. Let's start from the beginning. Talk to me about your early life. Where did you grow up and what was your family like?
Okay, well, I grew up in Texas City. And my parents were not religious or spiritual at all. So I did not grow up in a home that talked about God. Both of my parents were hardworking parents, and they just worked a lot. And when I was a kid and they would go to work, they dropped me off at my grandmother's house, my mother's house. And she kept all the grandkids. So when she wanted a break on Sundays, she would send us on the school bus. So when I started going to Sunday school, that's when I started hearing about God or Jesus Christ. That's when I was introduced to religion. Okay, so I was baptized when I was about 11 years old, and that was my first spiritual encounter. When they dipped me in the water and I came back up out of the water, I saw a very bright light and I heard angels singing, and they were not playing any music in the church. It was very, very vivid. I felt very light, very free. And that is when that was my first experience with God.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so you said you were 11 years old when you got baptized.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so what happened, in like those pivotal like teenage years and in high school, and did you stay involved with the church? Did you get away from it? What happened in those pivotal like teenage years?
Well, as a teenager, I was just like every other teenager, doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, dating, drinking. I did not yet really get involved in church at that time because my parents were not religious people. They were not church people. And the people that I was surrounded with, my peers, they weren't church people as well. So I did make a friend when I was about um, anywhere between 13 and 15 years of age, who her mother was very religious. And in order to be her friend, I had to go to church with her. So other than going to church during those times where I had to go in order to be with my friend, I really didn't go to church.
Got you. So were you like, doing teenage stuff, drinking and all that while you were going to church? So kind of like half in, kind of half in, half out?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I was half in, half out. There was a time a little bit later on, maybe around the age of 17, is when I went to church and the pastor preached a sermon about salvation.
Hmm.
And that is when I was like, okay, I gave my life over to God through Jesus Christ when I was around 17 years of age.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of have a similar story. My parents weren't religious. My mom technically was Christian, I guess. My dad was brought up Catholic, but we didn't practice. Like so, I wasn't really shown anything. But it was a similar story with me as well. I think I was about 10 years old when I met a friend, and his father was a pastor, and he would try and get all the kids in the neighborhood, go to church and do that kind of a thing, and I started to go to church, and I remember the same thing. That first day that I went to church, I accepted Jesus into my heart, and I mean, I was just a kid, and I was just going through the motion of it. And I didn't,
Mhm.
I was just going through the motion of it. And same thing, when I turned 14, I went down the wrong path. I started
Mhm.
hanging around the wrong people, started smoking weed, started drinking, started
Mhm.
partying. And it's funny how life plays out sometimes when you really look back on it. So,
Yeah.
I went down that path, and I've always been a nice guy, like a good guy, but I just kind of questioned religion, and
Mhm.
it's not until recently, about 3 years ago when at first I got sober and I stopped hanging around all those night owls, all those night people
Yeah.
for the night, and so I stopped hanging around those people, got sober, saw a couple of therapists, and then I went to an ayahuasca retreat, and that's kind of where
Yeah.
I'm at. That's kind of where I'm at now on my spiritual journey, and I'm just such a different person, and I just really want to empower people with these kinds of
Yes.
conversations.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And I mean, and I love it. That's one of the reasons why I do support you, because I very much know that God's spirit, source, energy, light is doing a new thing in the world today. He is raising up people to do things in the spiritual realm that have never been done before. I mean, I just love how he is raising up people like you through music, and how we're just connecting with people with all these different spiritual gifts.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm so happy and excited about the new, because the old just wasn't working.
It's
It
not
wasn't
working.
working
It's not
anymore.
working. Straight up, it's not working.
And the way he's doing it, we all understand we have a purpose. We all understand we have a mission, and we're able to come together as one and learn from one another and help empower one another.
I love it. I love it. I can hear the passion in your voice. So, so after those teenage years, I was listening back to that voice note that you sent me. So, talk to us more about the hypocrisy that you found in your church. When did you notice this, and what were some of the things that you were witnessing?
Okay, well, I was about 23 years old at this time. And between the ages of 17 to 23, maybe 25, I spent a lot of time reading my Bible. A lot of time reading my Bible, a lot of time praying. And I learned that a lot of the churches I was visiting were teaching a false gospel, a false truth, and they would say things that was in direct opposition to the Bible. So when I would listen to those sermons, something inside of me would remind me of what I read, and it would be like, okay, but no, the Bible doesn't say that. Like, for example, if they say, money is the root of all evil. Money is the root of all evil. I remember the scriptures that says that the love of money is the root of all evil, not
Mm,
money.
mm.
So that's what made me begin to question what was actually being taught from the pulpit.
Yeah, I love that. There's such, just a subtle difference in between those two different phrases there. So you were also mentioning, talk about how your pastor was sending spiritual attacks towards you.
Yes. So I actually became an ordained minister. And I was working very closely with the pastor as well as the women in the church. And the pastor called me into his office one day and was telling me about how he had been talking to the women, and he was trying to get them to put I'm not sure what they call it, some kind of loan where you put out a new loan on your home,
Okay.
and they give you money. And
Uh,
you know, I know there are people that do that to fix their houses up and different things like that. They
uh-huh.
do it, but he was talking to them about putting their getting some kind of new loan on their home, and then giving him the money.
Oh my
And
God.
he was talking about, you know, giving me a portion of it because he knew that I was struggling at the time. And I was just like, I mean, I really didn't know what to say, so I really didn't say anything.
Oh wow.
I was thinking within myself, that don't sound right. I mean,
Yeah.
he sounded pretty persuasive in what he was saying, and he made it sound real innocent. But something in me was like, I don't think that sound right.
Oh
Somebody
wow.
putting up these loans on their homes. And then I actually had a lady from the church talk to me about that particular issue. So I was like, okay, I told her she needed to pray about it. And whatever, you know, was in her spirit, whatever God told her, that's what she needed to do. So that's when some red flags started showing up, popping up, that okay, things are may not be as they seem. So I was invited to go speak at do a conference at a church, and the pastor did not want me to go, and I didn't go the first time. Another pastor reached back out to me to do that speech, that sermon, and I did. And when he found out, he was furious. He was furious. So immediately he started a smear campaign.
Oh wow.
He started telling people in the church to be careful. They can't trust me, that I'm disobedient, and all of that. And I actually left the church after that. I actually left the church after that. And it was very, very painful because I really, really trusted him as my pastor. And it was hurtful that he had tried to intimidate me through the smear campaign. And I had a dream after I left the church, and it's like I woke up from a dream, and I saw a crowd of people coming at me with knives and staves and swords and all of this, and they were coming at me, and I could just hear like they're marching towards me. And I had been in church and in ministry for years, and I told them to go back. I told them, go back in Jesus' name, go back. And I saw them all turn around and go back, actually go back.
Oh
And that is
wow.
when I knew that my own pastor, somebody that I had trusted, had actually sent spiritual warfare towards me.
Wow, man. There's so much to unpack there. That's wow. That's
Yeah.
you know, because your pastor, like, you know, you look up to him, right? You know, and you were kind of like, you know, next in charge, you know, and he confided in you.
Yes.
He confided in you, like, hey, like we're gonna get these people to take out a second mortgage, and I'm gonna get a cut, and you're gonna get a cut. And imagine how many people out there in your position that just are like, you know what, like, all right, yeah, no one has to know, but I think that shows that your character, your discernment. I like that word a lot. Discernment. You're able to listen to your gut instinct. You're like, no, this ain't right. And
Mm-hmm.
that's scary to go against. The pastor. Like that's scary. And like, wow. So
Yeah.
so yeah. So you said you left 5 years ago, right?
No, I left that church. It's been a little longer than
Okay.
5 years. But when I left that church, I did not return back to the church, period, any church.
Mm.
I tried to join different churches and things like that, but I just couldn't do it. And actually, after that incident happened, I didn't go to a church for a while. I mean, I withdrew,
Wow.
completely withdrew.
I'm sure that was, like a very life shattering experience, like your whole life was the church. And then, to see that going on, it's like, what is the meaning of life? Like, how is this happening? Like, who am I? Like, what do I do?
Yes, exactly. It's like who can you trust?
Yeah.
It really is. It's like who can you trust? If you can't trust your pastor, if you can't trust the church, then who can you trust?
Yeah, man,
But
that's
that is the reason why I'm so passionate about empowering people through spiritual and cultural connections, because people need to have their own connection with God. People don't need a man, a woman, or anybody telling them what they should and should not do, how they should and should not do it, when they are connected to God themselves, because she will guide them personally, because everybody's spiritual journey is different.
Man, I love that. Oh man, I love that so much. Okay, so yeah, so like what kind of mindset, what kind of headspace were you in after that happened?
I was just like, okay, God, it's me and you. I didn't seek a consultation from anybody in the church. I was just like, God, it's just me and you. Um, I did kind of step back a little bit from in my own spiritual journey, because I was hurt. I was disappointed, and I just didn't trust really anybody, anything at that point. But I never did just, turn away from God. I had to reassess myself and my beliefs.
Yeah, so looking back on that experience, like how do you make sense of it? Like, because they're always saying, humans, man, we're sinners, right? We sin and, we're supposed to live and learn, like, do you just write that off as just like a sin and you got to forgive, or, is it human nature, is greed, how do you make sense of all that?
Well, definitely I came to understand that it was demonic. What he did, it was wrong. Yes, we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. That is true. And that also goes for pastors too. All
Yeah.
have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Nobody is perfect.
Hmm.
Nobody.
Yeah.
However, I knew that it was sin. I knew that it was demonic. I knew that it was an attack. And I was at that time just about protecting myself.
Okay.
And eventually when I started my healing journey, we learned that we have to forgive and we have to let it go so
Hmm.
that we can move forward.
Yeah.
One of the things I talk about all the time is letting go and letting God.
Love it.
And that it's very important that we cut off all toxic people, places, and things that no longer serve us.
I love it.
There are lessons. There are
Hmm.
lessons that we are to learn while we're having this human experience, and then we are to move forward. And then we can talk about these things and help somebody else, be free, from that type of karmic behavior as well.
Yeah, I love that so much, and thank you for being so vocal and willing to share your experience, because like I said, I can imagine how many people out there that, either they just went along with it or they just don't want to talk about it, so and at least it's not like you're naming the pastor or the church or anything like that. You're just sharing your story, like this is what my experience, and I think that's the right way to go about it, and to just, tell people your story, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can relate to you. So
Yes, 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 it is. It's a lot of people, and there are a lot of people, unfortunately, that are afraid to speak out.
yeah.
And then there are people that have just walked away from God
Oh man.
because the church was their God. Church
Yeah,
was their God. And when they
man.
had those horrible experiences, they were like, okay, I don't want that. So they equated the church with God. And I mean, that is what's the really, really sad. And those are the people that I try to connect with
Oh yeah.
and let them understand that that is not God, that we are God, that we are the body of Christ.
Yeah. Okay, so after that, like I said, I was, referring back to that voice note that you sent me. So after that, you mentioned that you started dating a guy. I think you said he was in Africa. Can you talk more about that, and what ended up happening
Yes,
there?
yes, yes. So I had walked away from the church and I was just kind of doing my own little thing. I still believed in God. I still read my Bible a little bit, but I was just not really involved too much with any kind of church, gospel, anything. So I ended up connecting with a guy who is from Africa and fell deeply, deeply in love. Thought we were going to get married, was supposed to get married, and everything like that. And not knowing that this guy was a warlock. Not only was he a warlock, but he was married. and his wife was a witch, and they both were part of the same coven back in Africa.
Oh wow.
So I had a lot of dreams during the time that I was dating him, but I did not have much experience with witchcraft, juju, witches, warlocks, anything like that. And I was very, very much so attacked because coming from the church, the church doesn't talk a lot about witchcraft and spells and all that kind of stuff. It really doesn't talk too much about it. It talks about the Holy Spirit and the Bible, but doesn't really talk about that kind of thing. So I mean, I wasn't prepared for that, but it was necessary for me to go through that because that was going to be part of my mission on how to teach
Mm,
other people how to protect themselves, how to protect their energy.
mm. Okay, so yeah, so you mentioned that, he was supposed to marry you, and then you found out he was already married with another family. Can you talk
Mhm.
more about this and how you caught him lying and how you found out?
Well, I was having a lot of dreams. And one day he told me that she was coming to America, that she was coming to America with their children. And that he was going to try to get his children to stay here, and then she was going back or whatever. But I noticed that when we would normally be together at night and things like that, he started having to be somewhere else. He started disappearing. He started ghosting. I started finding out that he was saying that he was in one place, but then come to find out he was in another place. So one day I even pulled up to the house that she was in with the children, because he had shown me he had a friend, and he showed me, he was like, hey, this is my friend and this is where she's
Oh,
going to be. Yeah, this is where they're going to be when they're here. Well, I popped up over there one day, and that's where he was. And and I got the gist of it, and I said, well, you just go be with your family. And that, as heartbreaking as that was, what was the hardest thing was understanding and accepting that the whole time we had been together, he was doing spell work on me.
man, that's tough. That's tough. That's two very traumatic experiences. So how do you, like I said, how do you make sense of all that? Like, so you said these were lessons to help guide you on your path, and now it's your mission to educate people about these
Yes,
things, right?
yes. Because when the relationship with him ended, I went into a depression. I went into a deep depression. I didn't even want to live. Now that was what I call the spiritual awakening process, wake up phase, which is something that I teach. Now, that was my traumatic experience. That is what caused me to come out of the cave after leaving the church to step into my spiritual journey. So now I'm coming from a religious, standpoint to now a spiritual, standpoint. It put me on like what I thought at the time was a different path, but come to find out they're pretty much the same path. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking back on it, it's kind of beautiful, right? It's like looking back on it, it's like, oh, okay, like
Yes.
that all happened so I could find this. Yeah.
Yes, it did. And part of the healing process is, once again, I had to go in and I had to forgive. And from my heart space, I remember, saying in my moment of prayer, I was like, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you, for this experience, because this experience put me on this path. This experience set me free. This experience made me who I am today, and I am eternally grateful for you. And I was able to say that from my heart, because if I had not had that experience with him and her, with the witchcraft and the spell work and the moon magic and the mirror magic and everything, I mean, I would not have learned what I've learned. I wouldn't be teaching what I'm teaching. I wouldn't have leveled up the way I've leveled up if I hadn't gone through that.
Yeah, I can feel your pain, but like I said, it really is a magical, beautiful experience. Same thing for me, going through the dark night of the soul and the awakening. Just you look back on your life and you're like, oh, it all makes sense. Like, it
Mhm.
all led me to this path. So you would consider that depression after the breakup, that was your dark night of the soul, and how
That
would
was
you?
my that was my wake up phase.
Mm,
That's what made me wake up completely and be like, hold on a minute. My life ain't what I'm thinking it is. I got a lot of stuff going on that I didn't know about. And then
yeah.
after I came to the knowledge of what all happened, it gave me a little sense of peace because now the dots started coming together.
Oh yeah.
After that wake up phase, the dots started coming together, and that was a moment of bliss. There was a moment of bliss, which is the next phase. That hold on, okay, this is what I went through. Okay, this isn't who I am. This is in my life. Okay, now, okay, I have that sense of freedom, of being free, But then, right after that comes that dark night of the soul, and that was very difficult.
So talk about that a little bit. How would you define a dark night of the soul, and what happened?
Well, when I started going through my dark night of the soul, um, I realized that there was some inner work I needed to do. You know, we attract situations like that in our lives, and it's accountability is a hard thing for a lot of people nowadays. We like to put the responsibility
Oh
of
yeah.
our lives not going the way we want it to
Oh
on
yeah.
other people, but the
Mm-hmm.
dark night of the soul is meant for you to do the shadow work.
There you go. Yep.
And that shadow work is difficult because now you got to go all the way back to your
Oh yeah.
childhood trauma, um feeling like you're not worthy, feeling like you're not capable. I had to face all of those skeletons in my closet, because that is the reason why I connected with the witch, warlock. That's the reason why I connected with the people, those energies, because
Yep.
everything is energy.
Yep.
And so I was low vibrational and didn't even know I was low vibrational. So I connected with other low vibrational people, and now I had to do the healing. I had to go
Mm-hmm.
through that healing process. So it was difficult.
Oh
It
yeah.
was very difficult. My dark night of the soul lasted for like 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it lasted for like 2 years, and during that time, I came into the to the knowledge of the power of crystals.
Okay.
So that's when I started my crystal healing.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanna I wanna commend you for like you said, accountability, right? Like recognizing that there were some things in your life, that you needed to work on. How many people go about their lives? I see it every day that want to play victim mindset and they don't want to change. They don't want to
Mhm.
work on themselves. They want to blame other people and all that. That's where the healing happens. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? I attracted these events into my life. I attracted these people into my life. So maybe it's something that I need to work on for myself. I really do believe that this reality it's just a mirror. We're all of our realities. It's just a mirror, So, if you're not happy with your reality, you're not happy with your current circumstances, then maybe you need to take a look in the mirror and work on some things. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is what the dark night of the soul does.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people, fight with that process.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only way we can truly heal
It's the only
is
way.
if we go through the dark night of the soul. We can't abracadabra our way into healing.
Nope.
I came out with a video on that you cannot abracadabra your way into spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Can't
Yeah.
be done.
So you said at that phase you started to wake up, you had your spiritual awakening. So how would you define a spiritual awakening?
Um, a spiritual awakening is when you realize that the life that you have been living is not the actual life that God designed for you to live. That you are not who you've been told that you are. You come to understand that these avatar bodies that we're in, that is not who we are. That we came to this planet to have this human experience for such a time like this so that we can learn, so our soul consciousness can grow and expand. You begin to understand that, you know what? There's more to me than what I know.
Oh
And
yeah.
the further we go in our spiritual awakening, the more we tap into who we really are.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love that so much. I really do. I think, this reality, we're all programmed. As soon as we're born, you get a birth certificate stamped, this is your name, you're male, you're female, you're black, you're white, you're Christian,
Mhm,
you're Christian, you're atheist, you're this, you're that.
mhm.
And we're programmed and we're told that we're all these things. But what we come, what I've come to find on my awakening is like, no, I'm none of those things. I'm divine. I'm a piece of God. I'm the spirit inside this vessel. You know what I mean? And
That's
I
right.
I am God. You are God. We're all children of
Mhm.
God, and I think religion kind of is that barrier between that. It's like, I think religion, there's a quote that, one of my last guests, she kind of brought to my attention. I like it. She was like, she sees religion as a fish inside of a fishbowl, but
Mhm.
spirituality is the ocean. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And and it's funny because the Bible says, do ye not know that ye are gods? I came out with a video that says, can a human be God? And I taught scripture to to clarify and to confirm that we are.
Oh yeah.
And see, religion will not tell you that.
Nope.
Religion will tell you that God is all the way up in heaven, way
Oh
up
yeah.
there,
Mm-hmm.
way up there somewhere, looking down upon all of us. And,
And give me 10% and
yes, yes, yes. And that there's a whole agenda
mm-hmm.
to the tithe thing. Yeah, there's a
Mm-hmm.
whole agenda. I might come up with a video one day talking about tithe and it'll blow people mind.
Oh yeah. Okay, so
It
and
really
then
will.
and then you touched on it for a second there. You started to get into crystal work. So I don't know much about crystals, but how'd you get into the crystal healing and what healing benefits do crystals have?
Okay, well, the way I got into crystals, I got on YouTube, and I don't know how I came across this video. I don't know. But I got on YouTube and I wasn't looking for it. And I came across something that talked about crystal healing. And they were talking about the power of crystals. Now that brought me all the way back to when I was a kid. I've always been fascinated with crystals. I've always been fascinated with them. So I Googled where can I buy crystals? And there's a shop out here in Houston, Texas called Body, Mind, and Soul. So I went there, and as soon as I stepped in the door, it was just like the vibration was so high. So high. It's just
Oh
like
yeah.
everything was just the vibration was, and they have the most beautiful crystals in there. And I did not know which crystal to get or whatever, but I just kind of walked around and I just kind of was led to what my spirit was telling me to go to. And the first crystals I got was an amethyst.
Nice.
Um, Amethyst
That's
will
this one, I think, yeah.
it's the purple one.
Yeah.
Yes, that one helps you to be calm and to be peaceful. And I got a clear quartz, which is
Nice.
a power crystal, which cleanses all the other crystals, very powerful. Those were my very two crystals, first two crystals that I got. Now, crystals hold energy. Crystals hold energy. And the energy is different for the crystals. Some crystals or stones are very good for protection, some for healing, some for love, self-love, attracting love, money, abundance. So the crystals have different they do different things. And some crystals you can put on your body, some you will put under your pillow, some you will put at the foot of your bed, some you carry around. So depending on what you got going on, what you need, what you're going through, that's going to determine the type of crystal that you need. And
Mm.
I prayed with those crystals. I carried those crystals around. I was wearing those crystals as jewelry. And it's just like I finally had peace, some kind of peace during the dark night of the soul,
Mm,
because that is when I really got into the crystal healing while I was going through the dark night of the soul.
okay. Is that a crystal necklace that you're wearing?
Yes, always I should remember the name of it, but it's like
Obsidian?
no,
No.
it does look like obsidian, but it's like a volcanic rock.
Okay.
Like volcanic rock, and it's one of the most powerful crystals for protection.
Mm,
But when I started out with the obsidian, just like you said. I
hmm
started out with the tiger's eye
Yeah, me too.
because I needed a lot of protection. At that time, I needed a lot of protection.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. So also you mentioned drawing mandala flowers as a kid. To me that's very interesting. So looking back on that, can you talk a little bit more about that? And were there any other gifts that you noticed as a kid?
Yes, now, yeah, the mandala flowers, I drew them on papers, I drew them on my notebooks, I drew them everywhere. I even got an award at school for drawing a mandala flower, and it
Oh
was like the
wow.
biggest it was the biggest mandala flower I had ever drawn, and I did not know that they had any type of spiritual connection at all.
Yeah.
Also noticed that when I was young, from the time I was young, I was clairvoyant. When I got into church, that's when they call it a prophet, being a prophet.
Oh
But I
yeah.
noticed from the time I was a kid, I could see angels and I could see demons.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
Wow. That's powerful
So
stuff.
yes, yes, and I mean it was scary at first, to see the shadows and to hear some of the things I heard, but when I started learning about prayer, even as a kid, the few little Sunday schools services that I went to and things like that, I picked up on the prayer thing and I would just call on the name of Jesus, and it's like they would just go.
Oh wow. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing for me too. Like, I'm 31 years old and I'm kind of like uncovering my abilities as I get older and stuff, but looking back on my life, I've always just been so sensitive. I just always label myself as sensitive. And now people are telling me, I've had so many podcasts now with different spiritual coaches and healers and stuff. And, people tell me, oh, you're a light worker. Oh, you're a star seed, this and that. Oh, you're an intuitive empath. So there's all these labels and I don't know what I am, but I've always labeled myself as sensitive, and I can relate to you on like the clairvoyant kind of stuff. I've had dreams that have come real, and I've been able to predict the future and stuff, and yeah, it's just it's awesome. I think we all have these capabilities. Some have them stronger than others, but you gotta strengthen it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Because from the time we're born, I mean, the world tries to really shut
Oh
down,
yeah.
and those spiritual gifts.
hmm
They really do. And it takes us years to understand those spiritual gifts, to know that you are normal, that there's nothing wrong with you, that those gifts are a blessing and that they're not a curse,
hmm
that there's
Yeah.
a purpose on why you have those gifts.
Yeah, there's something that I've thought about recently. I was like thinking about it. I was like, I remember as a kid, I used to look up at the sun with my eyes closed, and I used to like push on my eyeball, push on my eyeballs, and it would like create these like interesting patterns, and I would like, do that, and it's like it's made me realize like, okay, I was because now it's like exploring consciousness and going within and meditating and all that. Is like as a kid I would do that, so I thought that was kind of funny.
Mhm.
Um, so I'd like to ask you too. Do you do any kind of meditation or breath work, or do you have any other spiritual practices besides the crystal healing?
Yes, yes, I do. For one thing, I sage every day. Every day I make sure I take white sage, I burn that sage, and I clear my energy. All my energy from all negative energy. I do it every single day. Every single day. I take spiritual baths, where I put in pink Himalayan salt. I might put a little Florida water in it. I'll put other oils in it, and I'll do that maybe once a week. If not once a week, I'm gonna make sure I do it every month. But sometimes if I feel like, something ugly is sticking to me or whatever, or some kind of nasty energy, I will do a spiritual bath at that time also. Yeah, I pray a lot. I do meditate. I love guided meditations. I
Oh
love
yeah.
guided meditations, especially white light meditations.
Mm.
White light meditation was the first meditation I did where you imagine white light coming down from the sky all the way
Yeah.
through the top of your head, and
Oh
it goes
yeah.
down your spine, and then it
Mm-hmm.
expands from your chest. And I mean, that is the most powerful meditation that I have done. So
Mm.
yes, I do meditations, and I also do energy reads. Um, which is basically letting me know my energy, where my energy is, and the incoming energy also,
Mm.
the energy that's around me, it lets me know that as well. So i
Mm.
do i do a little bit of everything.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, like for me, after my awakening, I can't help myself. Like I do it every day now. It's like I literally go for like a 2 mile walk, and there's like a nice little park over here by my house, and it's nature.
Hmm.
And I literally
Hmm.
take my bare feet and put my bare feet into the grass. I put my hands
Oh,
in
I love that.
into the earth, and I'm
I
laying
love
out in
that.
the grass, lay on my
Oh my
stomach, on my
God.
back. Yeah,
Yes,
and I let
yes, I
the
love it.
sun hit me, and I have to do it.
Yes, you're grounding. You're grounding
Grounding.
your energy. You're
Yeah.
grounding your energy. And I believe that a lot of us are being led to do that at this time, to
Mm-hmm.
ground our energy. It's something that people have always been doing. We've always been doing, but I've been feeling led a lot lately,
Mm-hmm.
pressured almost to like, you need to go ground your energy. You need to
Mm-hmm.
go ground your energy. And I live over here in this city. And I mean, the city is the city.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to get to that little private place where you can just ground your energy. But I just be like, hey, I got to do what I got to do. So I just go to the park, and I'm like, yeah, people might look at me strange, but I just close my eyes and I allow myself to be grounded.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's very important to connect with nature, with Mother Earth, Mama Gaia,
Mhm,
and like we were
mhm,
talking about a second ago about how, kids, as kids, we all have these psychic abilities, some more than others. But when I look back on life, it's like, then you put shoes on the kids, and they're always wearing shoes, and they go from the house to the classroom, to the doctor's office, to whatever, baseball practice,
mhm, mhm.
basketball practice, always wearing shoes. It's like we got to take our shoes off and put our bare feet into the ground and connect with the earth.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Because a lot of when especially when you're a spiritual worker and you don't ground yourself, we tend to feel very like it's like our heads are in a cloud. We just feel like floaty,
Yeah.
and just like sometimes that floatiness makes us feel unsure about
Hmm.
different things.
Yeah.
We don't kind of know, like, I don't want to say we lose direction, but it's like if the wind is blowing, you don't know. Is it coming from the north, south, east, or west? It's just, and I mean, sometimes that feeling is a nice feeling to have, but when you need to make decisions and you really need clarity, we have to ground ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. So I think, the main message of your story is kind of like, switching from religion to spirituality. So how would you define the difference between the two?
Well, religion, it really is a set of rules. And those rules, unfortunately, I understand the genesis, I guess, of the rules, because the rules help guide us as into what is right, what is wrong. It helps give us an idea of how to treat others the way we want to be treated. Love your brother as yourself. So I understand it, but the church has taken it and really did the most with religion, because you have churches that's teaching that we're supposed to be celebrate certain festivities and certain ceremonies and things like that, that is Old Testament. We don't have to do that anymore. Jesus didn't even tell us to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So a lot of our rules and regulations, religion is in the Old Testament. Okay, but Jesus came in the New Testament
Mm.
and he talked about love.
Yeah.
He talked about oneness and
Yeah.
unity, and he didn't
Oh
just
yeah.
talk about it, but he showed it. He
Mm-hmm.
went to the fair. He went to the fishermen, people who were looked down upon, low degree. He went to he went to the prostitutes and just different people, and was giving them that opportunity to
Yeah.
come to know God.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the tax collectors, the people they say are sinners.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus didn't hang in the church. He didn't hang in the church.
Mm-hmm.
He hung around the people that society said was unworthy. So the
Yeah.
religion is, that it's a bunch of rules and regulations and things like that without the relationship.
Yeah.
If you have a relationship with God and you love him and he's in your heart, you're naturally going to do things and not do things because you're going to have your conscience. It's
Yeah.
going to be like, you know what? No, I don't think I should do that. So you don't have to, the religion doesn't have to beat people over the head and be like,
Yeah.
hey, you're going to hell, you're going to hell.
Oh yeah.
And that's the other thing religion is messing up about
Mm-hmm.
is you have people that's going through hell right here on earth.
Yep.
When you tell people, oh, if you don't stop doing that, you're going to hell. People are like, but I'm in hell.
Yeah.
So they're defeating the purpose. And religion doesn't really draw people in and bring and connect people to God. Religion just pushes people away, make people think they're not worthy, that they can never reach this certain level of attainment to God. They can never reach it because they'll never be good enough. And that's what religion does. And that's not what God wanted for us. Spirituality is connecting with God and the whole universe,
Oh
the
yeah.
whole everything, becoming one with everything, everything. Okay, because we start to understand the significance and the importance of the creation of God. We understand the significance of the moon, how we're affected by the moon, the sun. We understand the importance of nature, connecting with nature, being one. We understand that we all human beings, that we are one. It doesn't matter race, religion, culture, whatever. We are all one. We are all interconnected in some way. Spirituality will show us that. Spirituality helps us to connect with our ancestors. It helps us to heal those ancestral wounds that need to be healed so we can
Oh
all
yeah.
ascend.
I love that so much, man. I can hear the passion in your voice. Have you taken ayahuasca or mushrooms or anything, or no?
No, I
No?
haven't. I haven't.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
But I do know about it. I have heard about it as well. There are a couple of people that I watch that talk about their experience
Because
with
you,
it, and they
yeah,
say it's
because
very
you,
psychedelic.
yeah, because you sound like you've like wow, you're definitely very awake, and so it's crazy to think that you have all this wisdom and knowledge and you understand it like just from that dark night of the soul. It took me ayahuasca to find it. Yeah. Wow. But yeah, I can hear the passion in your voice. And yeah, I don't want to completely knock religion, like, I agree with you, like there's good things to religion. There's good people that are involved with the church and all that. But I think some of them are lost and a lot of them are lost, so, I'd like to ask you, if you could send a message out there to someone who, maybe they're questioning their beliefs, maybe they're on the fence with, religion, and deep down they know that there's more out there and that the truth is out there, what message would you give them?
Okay, I call myself a non-traditional Christian, meaning I'm all about, Jesus is the one that showed himself to me. He was my way, he was my truth, and he was my life. You know, so I would tell people that the most important thing for you to do is to connect with God, connect with Him, because He, she, whatever you want to call God, source, energy, light, um, will show you the way. Okay, rules and regulations, the church, um, Even some spiritual teachers and leaders and things like that, they cannot show you your path in life. Only God can. And when the universe is showing you all of this, you just have to trust.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
I definitely think a big part of it is noticing the signs, noticing the synchronicities, listening to your intuition, and following that path, and it can connect you.
Mhm.
That's been my whole life. My whole life has been synchronicities, and I always follow it, and it's kind of led me to this point. So I think it's a good thing. Develop your intuition, develop your discernment, and meditate and listen and find the answers for yourself. Um,
That's
so,
right.
I'd like to ask you too, so that was a great message that you just shared. And, I also feel like some of the people that are religious, they might see spirituality as witchcraft.
They do.
They see spirituality as evil, So
Mhm.
what message would you give to them who have those beliefs?
I would tell them to do further research in the Bible. A lot of stuff that they call witchcraft, the church was doing it. They were doing it in the Bible, casting lots. Um, the three wise men that found Jesus, they were astrologers. They watched the stars. That's how they knew how to find baby Jesus.
Mm,
Why did they bring frankincense, myrrh, and gold? Why did they bring that to baby Jesus? These are herbs. Why would
yeah,
they bring frankincense, myrrh, and gold? There's a reason.
yeah,
Even in the Bible, when the Bible talks about how heaven is made, it mentions crystals. Heaven is made using crystals.
wow,
I mean, why? When God told Moses and Aaron how to make the ephod that Aaron, the priest, wears to go into the Holy of Holies, there were crystals and stones that was put in there, very specific. Why?
mm-hmm,
Then there was the Thummim and the Thurman, is either the Thummim and the Uman or something like that. You know, they need to research their Bible and they'll find that a lot of the stuff that they call witchcraft, they were practicing in the Bible.
oh yeah. Yeah. I also think, like how are they gonna, be so against, these plant medicines and stuff too? Like it's a plant, it comes from the earth, mushrooms, cannabis, ayahuasca. These are plants, and fungus or whatever. It comes from the earth, So, I definitely think everything in moderation, but yeah, I can see it, like are you familiar with the Council of Nicaea?
The council. No, I'm not.
No. Yeah, so I mean, people need to look into the Council of Nicaea. That's how the Bible was canonized. The Roman Church. There is an original version of the Bible, and the Roman Church edited a lot of the stuff out.
They sure did. They
I
took
think
a lot. They took a
it took
lot
a
out. And with the plant medicine that you were talking about, okay, these plants didn't just grow on their own. Okay, God is the one that created the seed and put it in
yeah,
the earth to grow.
hmm
These are God's gifts. Now, with anything, we can abuse it as human beings. We can abuse
exactly,
anything,
exactly.
but there's a reason why these plants were created and why they do certain things,
Hmm.
to the human body, to the psyche.
Yep. Hmm. Okay, so you also mentioned that that you believe that you volunteered to kind of like incarnate into this life for a meaning
Yes,
and a purpose.
I've reincarnated several times. I volunteered to come to this planet to come on this mission, um, to help bring people to God, to help people wake up. To I tend to bring people into a spiritual awakening, to their spiritual awakening. Um, and that is that's a challenging mission.
Oh
It's
yeah,
very challenging because even when I don't want to, I mean, my mere presence, when people start hearing how I talk and they see how I live my life and what I do, and I've gotten a lot of, I've made a lot of people mad. I've triggered a lot of demons just by
yeah,
being me. And
yeah,
when I walk away, then it's like, boom, there's their tower. They're going through their tower moment now because it's time for their spiritual awakening.
yeah.
So yes, I did volunteer to come here for this mission.
Yeah, those people that you're irritating, they're still holding on to the old paradigm, and it's something within you that just challenges their worldview and their beliefs, and they don't want to hear it, and they don't want to be open to it, so they're gonna
Yeah,
push back against it. That's all I
yeah,
would say is like be open, research, be open to all the possibilities, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And one of the things that I learned on this journey is if we care about what other people think about us or what other people are going to say about us, then we can't do it. We
Mm-hmm.
can't do, we can't fulfill this mission. We have to be focused, be connected to God, to spirit, and we have to just boldly proclaim our messages,
Oh yeah.
use our spiritual gifts. And regardless of what anybody thinks, say, or feel, because there's always a community out there that's listening,
Oh yeah.
that need that message, that need that help, that
Mm-hmm.
word.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much. So talking about gifts, talk to us about the goal of your Facebook group as well as some of the services that you offer.
Okay. Well, with Guided Source Awakening, as I said, I created that group to empower individuals through spiritual and cultural connections. And what I do with that group is I try to pack as much information as possible. I talk about the law of attraction, as well as the spiritual awakening process, and then it goes into ways to help heal. Talks about crystals. It talks about using candles. It talks about mirror work. And it just helps people. It helps introduce people to different ways to heal and to be the best version of themselves. So I started uploading different spiritual books as well. I have a lot more that I need to upload. So it's not, the Guided Source Awakening does not tell anybody what to do, or like, okay, this is your way, this is your path. What I do is I put out the information for people so they can, it makes it easier for them to find their path.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I'll link that in the video description to your group and everything. So I'd like to ask you, kind of closing it out, with all of the information that you now have, what is your view on God and the meaning of life?
My view on God is that God loves us so much, and that God is with us and He is in us, and He has not left us, and He has not forsaken or turned His back on us. Okay, God wants us to transform. He wants us to evolve. He wants us to elevate. He wants us to come into the true knowledge of who we are so we can know who He is. So no matter what we go through in life, it's not it's not God's fault that a lot of things that are happening is happening, but that He does love us, He does care about us, and that we can always call on Him, her, in our times of need to help us.
I love that so much. Yeah, I definitely think God is beyond pronouns, male, female. God is just
Yes,
so much more than that, and so
yes.
yeah, what about the meaning of life?
I believe the meaning of life is to love. I believe that it's all wrapped up in this one saying: love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and love, others as yourself. It's love. Because when I had a dream, my dreams where I went into the 5D realm, it was all about love.
Oh wow.
I mean, that was the vibration love. That was the vibration love.
I love that so much. Okay, so looking ahead, what do you envision for the future of your work and your impact on the spiritual community?
Um, I see myself doing speaking, public speaking engagements, holding conferences and conventions, which I've done in the past. But this time, helping people to know God in a new way, in a different way, by helping empower people um to know who they truly are. Um, I believe that the work that I'm doing is going to help people wake up and know who they are, and begin to help raise the vibration of this planet as well, so that we can unite as one, and we can help transform this whole system,
Yeah.
to where to help make it, the way God initially wanted it to be, initially intended it to be.
Yeah, I love that so much. Thank you for the work that you're doing. So I always like to ask the guests, kind of closing it out. Can you send the listeners out there a final message of love and healing, for the people out there who might be struggling?
Okay, know that this life isn't easy. It's not easy for any of us. And this is just something that we can't do on our own. When we're trying to find ourselves, when we're trying to understand our purpose, it's not easy. But you're not alone. You have God. You have the angels. You have your spirit team, your spirit guides that are just waiting to help you. You ain't got to do this on your own. Your spirit guides and spirit team, your ancestors of the highest white light are just waiting for you to ask for help. You are highly protected. You are protected by the Most High. Okay? All you need to do is ask for that help, and He will protect you, help you, and guide you. Your spirit team is more than what anybody can even number on this planet.
Oh
If
man.
you're here, yes, if you're here right now, God, there's a reason why you're here. God has a purpose for your life. You are important and you are special. You are needed on this planet for such a time as this.
Oh man. I love that so much, man. You're a great speaker. So much passion behind your voice. So I want to thank you, Taneisha. Thank you for meeting with me today. I want to thank you again for sharing your story. I think a lot of people will benefit from this. So I also want to thank the listeners for sticking around to the end. So once again, please tell everyone where to find your information, and I'll also add it to the description of the video.
Okay, well, you can find me on Facebook, Guided Source Awakening. That is the group. I'm also on TikTok under Guided Source. And I'm also on YouTube as Guided Source Awakening as well. All three of those platforms have a little bit of something different, but the message is pretty much still the same. So you can find me on there. I love to have you. I love to work with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.